Thank you for being here this morning. This module is on the importance of advocating and following through. Let's first talk about advocating and what that means and why it's important. The definition of, when you think of advocate, don't you normally think of lobbyists or social workers? But it's really a much broader term than that. It's one that argues for a cause, a supporter of a defender who builds awareness of issues, one that pleads on an other's behalf, an intercessor. Do you need to advocate in your room sometimes?
Yes.
I think everyone needs to at some
Everybody needs
point.
to advocate.
Why?
Just to get what you need.
Right.
Get what you want.
Is it a skill most of us come to Suzuki with?
No.
No. And what happens if you don't advocate?
Think it won't get done, or
Right.
The need goes unmet.
Right.
What would be some examples of things that you think you need to advocate for in your classroom?
Like, like on our team, we advocated for, we needed extra help. We needed an extra person, so we continued to advocate for ourselves. We called and we asked, we did emails.
You advocated.
We advocated, and eventually we got our extra help that we needed. So it was very important to us, and now the classroom is much better now that we have this extra person.
Okay. What would be another example?
I was going to say one where you have a child with a behavioral issue.
Right.
Advocating on behalf of the child and the team to have somebody else come in, get another viewpoint, get the parents involved.
Other examples?
Just advocating for something you need in the classroom.
Materials? Right. It is, when you advocate, before this video started, you and I were talking, the three of us, about when does advocation turn to harassment, right?
Being a pest.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's why a lot of people, they'll ask for something that they need, and then the answer will be no, and the process stops right there, and they don't go any further. And I think it's because a lot of people don't know at what point are you no longer advocating and you're just being argumentative or combative.
You know, something that is freeing to me is when I learned a no may simply mean I don't have enough information.
Right? That's what I was going to say. I think the biggest thing when you go and advocate to Deborah or the program directors or even Paula, they always want to know why. So it's, you know, have your 5 bullet points of,
It's persuasive.
even if it's written out, because you have to be very clear as to what you need, why you need it, when you need it.
For how long you need it.
Yeah.
Is there another option? That
They're going to have a list of questions to ask you.
Exactly. I do. You have to. I mean, you have to be analytical about this.
Yeah, yeah.
I know you mentioned your 8th person or your extra set of hands.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced. Okay, you advocated, you haven't, because a couple others were. I am still not convinced.
Right. Right.
So, in order for that 8th person to continue, there's going to have to be a lot more advocation with clearly defined reasons.
I'll be sure to
And to make sure, and I want to know what other options you could employ other than just having that 8th teacher.
Well, and I think the follow-up of, you know, advocating and then it doesn't happen, following up before getting it, but then I think to follow up with
What you've
them
done with that
and say,
8th
hey,
person,
this has been
I
great
don't know.
because of X, Y, and Z, or
This is what it's allowed us to do.
right, we've had behavioral issues and this lady that's coming in has been great.
She's
Thank
allowed
you so
us to
much.
focus.
You know,
She
yeah.
can focus on this little tiny group, which allows us to do these
Right,
things.
right.
We're going to need this for another week, but by that point, we will have this in place, and that will eliminate the need.
Yeah.
That is a reasoned argument, instead of just saying, we can't cope, we need extra hands.
Right.
You see how that sounds?
Yes, yes.
It sounds like you can't cope.
Yeah.
And
You shouldn't be
you want
here.
us to give you somebody else just because you can't cope.
Well, this is
That's
good
not
to know because I
adequate.
never knew that you weren't convinced. So
You're not convinced.
But she
So-
decided to try it out.
But you advocated, so we're
Yeah.
you have a chance here.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you've got to analyze it and follow through, which
Not
is follow
follow up.
Follow
Talk
through.
about that.
Excuse me. Follow through.
Well, the one thing I would say, Tara, in another module, we have 3 modules on conflict. there are some good techniques in there for when do you know you're being a pest. And one of the biggest problems, I think, when we advocate, look, we're not just not sitting around waiting for you to advocate. We have our positions, right or wrong. And what you have to do in advocation is get focused on needs and get people off positions. Because when you focus on needs, it opens up solutions, right? But if most of us go through life, and it's called the single solution mindset. If you ask me something, I have a single solution, probably. If you tell me the need, and we really talk about it, we may have 5 or 6 solutions, and that's where Deborah says be analytical. Get really clear on the need of the classroom and why the need isn't being met with 7 people. It opens up solutions. The single solution for y'all was an 8th person, and that's how you came at it, is that we have a solution, it's an 8th person, versus here are the needs we have that aren't being met. What options do we have? And the right one might be an 8th person. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Let's move on in the next video to follow through.